So the second speaker we'll have is Lih Shiun. So can I invite Lih Shiun, who again represents Google Asia Pacific?
Hi everyone, Lih Shiun here. I from the public policy team, so many people ask me, what does that entail? The simple answer is that I talk and write for a living. The more complex answer is I work with governments and NGOs and think tanks around in the region to help accelerate and grow the digital economy, because we think the internet is a great enabler for growth, especially for Asia. Speak louder? Okay. And we think that through partnerships we can actually help accelerate a lot of growth in Asia. Today I'm going to talk about what you see on screen there called data-driven innovation. Right? I think that a lot of people we are here because everyone's excited about data. You can go around and not hear words like data analytics, data security, big data, intelligence being thrown at you, being in the press every day. I think that's in part true because of the vast volume of data that's being generated every day, and also because different companies are starting to use data in a very interesting manner. You've heard about banks using data to detect fraud in their systems. You heard about schools using data to help and to develop more targeted intervention programs to help their students learn better or to excel in their work, right? But to me, actually, I'm not so excited about the data. I'm actually more excited about the innovation that comes from data, which is why I put on the word there, data-driven innovation. It's the innovation that excites the company for Google, in Google's case, and what we want to see a lot more in the region. I'm going to talk first about, how do I scroll down? Okay. I'm going to first talk about this example of a city council example. Now, this example comes from New York. We all know that when you throw oil, fats, and stuff down the sewage pipes, they get clogged, right? Because as they cool, they coagulate, and then you have a backfill. And then suddenly, in New York, where I think a lot of pipes are mixed, you get sewage backfill up onto the streets. Now, New York was fighting this problem for a big time, I think a few years ago. Now, and of course, the culprits, to think about it, will be your restaurants, right? With deep fried food, and instead of trying to dispose of the oil in a very responsible manner, it might be easy just to dump it down the drain. The easy way out will be to send inspectors down to every restaurant in New York City and do spot checks to see whether they dispose of the waste oil in a responsible manner. Now that's possible, but it's also not very scalable, right? How many inspectors do you need to hire and send out every day to make sure that you catch 90% of the culprits? So New York City actually did a different approach. They basically turned to data-driven innovation, right? It turns out that in New York City, they actually keep a ledger of which restaurants are actually using which so-called waste oil dredgers or haulers. And what they did was they had a map of all the restaurants in New York, a geospatial approach, and they overlaid that with the information they have on which restaurants were using the haulers for their waste oil. And so for that, they were able to narrow down quite quickly which ones were potentially illegally throwing their oil, or they were using unlicensed waste oil haulers. So that's quite easy, and I think my stats here say they achieved a 95% success rate in tracking down the culprits. So the reason why I raised this example is that actually, data analytics is actually not, there are many skills to it, but it can be very simple. Right? If you think about how you can use the data in very clever ways, you actually can generate a lot of value out of it. Now, the next example I'm going to show you is this. Now, farmers can do it as well. I'm not sure how many of you here are from New Zealand, and I'm not sure whether this is a true phrase, but I've been told that the difference between a successful farmer and a non-successful farmer is about 2 weeks. Okay, what does that mean, right? Actually, that means that the more experienced farmers actually know when to start cutting the grass to keep it for foliage, to keep it for feed for their farm animals in winter, and when do they start to milk their cows, for instance. So all this is based on judgment, right? But what happened in New Zealand is there was this company that was pretty smart. They actually came out with a data analytics platform that provided the farmers. Right? The farmers first had to go and decide when to start cutting the grass or when to start milking the cows. And you didn't throw in things like When do they start selling the milk, right? What's the price like? What's the weather like? And it's going to be a very complex task for farmers, right? You're really busy dealing with the logistics and running of the farm. You still have to think about the commercial side of things. So what this platform does is it takes a lot of the judgment work out for farmers. What it does is farmers will input what they have in their farm, number of farm animals they have, the acres they have, and the platform will also pull in information about what's the economics of for milk looking like, and from there they can make certain projections, right? On when should they start cutting the grass, when should they not start the grass. What was interesting for me in terms of the output I see from here is that people using this platform actually have a 70% higher average gross margin per hectare compared to farmers who are not using this platform. Now this is on average, of course. If they are really good farmers, I'm sure that some of them are, they don't need the platforms to perform at a higher profit margin. But to me, it just means a few things, right? I mean, even farmers can benefit from data-driven innovation. It's again, how do you enable them to make use of this of data in the first place? In this case, there was an enterprising company that did that. But if you think about it deeper, how it relates to open data, right, will be that, look, if none of the data is out there in terms of how much a price per kilogram of milk solids is, it's very hard for the company then be able to pull in the information and inform the farmers at scale on what's happening in the market. Okay. Now, with those two examples, actually, within those two examples, I usually talk about 3 data sets already, right? But think about it, the world has always been full of data. They are full of facts, right? Some of it are creating ourselves, some of it is based on computer generated content. But like sand, right? I like to compare, or like data is actually is a renewable and non-rivalrous source. You can't argue with facts, right? But what's interesting about it is not the facts that are important, but the innovation that you derive out from the facts is important. If you think about what sand is to silicon, I would say what data is to innovation. With data itself, you can't do much. It's only with innovation you can do something about it. And it can be used in many different ways. The last example, okay, before I go there, right? If you think about data innovation, it's also not something new. Can someone tell me, okay, I'm not sure I'm going to respond, but can someone tell me what's one of the oldest form of data-driven innovation in the world? Okay, no prizes, I know, but someone could try. No, that's new actually. One of the oldest one is actually maps. You think about it, a piece of map, right? It's just facts put on a piece of paper. It's basically someone decided that, okay, somebody needs to get from point A to point B, and somebody's going to get a value out of it. But there's actually nothing new about maps in the sense that it's just all different plots, like, the hill is here, the road is there, the winds may blow this way. And they put it on a map and it becomes a very useful tool for everybody. So actually, if you think about it, we have been using data analytics for the longest time. It's just that we got better at it over time. The latest example is going to show you that how far we have gone in terms of data-driven innovation and how good we have become. And in that sense, why companies should, if you have not started on it, you're already behind the curve, to start looking at data-driven innovation. Now, this one thing is called reCAPTCHA. I'm not sure whether you've gone to different sites and then suddenly before you enter in the form, they ask you, can you please type up the 4 or 6 letters out there to prove that you're a human being, right? This is basically the reCAPTCHA program. It's a free service. What it does is basically to ensure that you're a human being and not a spam bot that's trying to spam stuff all over the internet. Like, say, for instance, typing in comments to a certain blog that you have set up, right? Now, I think not many people will know that this reCAPTCHA actually serves a secondary function. A lot of these words that you see there, right, are actually visual images captured either from the surroundings or from books. Now, what happens is that when you get people to start inputting, like, okay, the word, what's the word there? Let's see. Crisis, baby, right? And it's written in a very different way. And then the human is able to recognize it as crisis. Now, when they input that, right, the computer actually we were actually telling the computer that word is a crisis. And you think about it, there are millions of people actually dumping in all this information, trying to tell the computer that, okay, when the letter L looks like that, it could look like that in different ways. The computer actually learns for over a period of time. And you think about it, that's how digitization of books can happen, right? Now libraries can then use basically artificial intelligence to quickly digitize books, even if they're written in very bad handwriting, right? And if you think about it, if you expand that further, sooner or later you're going to have computers helping you to identify a lot of objects around the world without human intervention, and that cuts down a lot of time, which means that the manpower you save from having a person sit down there and looking through every picture, that manpower can be used for something more valuable and to develop something more awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to end with that example, and then I'm sure there will be more questions later. Thank you.